Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range to talk about the Polytech AKS 762 rifle, commonly referred to as the Spiker. This gun was imported in the 80s for a short time, and it was not all that popular at the time, but as time went on and after the ban occurred in 89, they became more and more popular as time went on. The guns are rather iconic because of their underfolding spike bayonet, which was very reminiscent of the Type 56 AK that our soldiers would encounter in the Vietnam War. And so this would appeal to, collectors of that era. But keep in mind, these guns sold for typically less than $300. So AKs were not popular in the 80s or even really in the 90s. The popularity of AKs came more recently. These were considered Chinese junk, and most Americans just turned their nose up at them. They'd much rather have an AR-15. And so these things kind of lingered on gun store shelves, things like that. There wasn't a whole AK community back then. But as time again went on, these things become very desirable. The price of the originals, like the one you're looking at here, have just skyrocketed and become pretty much unobtainium, and the few people that are lucky enough to own them don't generally take them out and shoot them a whole bunch, because now they've become collector's pieces. That's where Palmetto State Armory comes in. A couple years ago at SHOT Show, I'm walking by the booth, and just minding my own business, peek down, like, darn, that's a Spiker. I wonder if they're building parts kits gun, because, all this stuff out here on the end of the barrel will be rather expensive to make, and surely nobody's doing that. Well, that's exactly what they were doing. And we now have one in our possession, and we're going to compare it to the original AKS 762 rifle that you're looking at here. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you're thinking about picking up a Spiker from Palmetto State Armory, you're definitely going to want to watch this video. Oh, and by the way, the Chinese AKs, even though they were considered junk in the day, they're far from it. A lot of AK guys would tell you that the Chinese made AKs, especially the Polytechs, were some of the best AKs ever produced. That's up for debate. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. I know it's cold out here, but I had to throw a couple more rounds in the magazine just to do a little bit more shooting with the rifle. Then we're going to go inside and compare it to the new PSA rifle. All right, it's cold. Let's go inside. So in that last segment, you guys probably picked up on the fact that I wasn't actually shooting the Chinese rifle. I was shooting the new PSA rifle. Pretty quickly, you can tell them apart. The finishes are slightly different. And of course, we have a glossier wood finish here. Even though the color's right, you're going to have a rougher grain and not have that glossy finish on the original Chinese guns. But we're going to kind of go through bit by bit and talk about the lengths that which PSA went to try to get this rifle as close as possible to being a clone of the original. Now we jumped on the PSA website to see what they're currently selling for, and they were out of stock, unsurprising, and they don't list the price when they're out of stock. So the guns are extremely affordable, because if you take this into consideration and compare it to an original like you see here, of course the market on the originals goes up and down with political winds, anywhere between $3,000 to, some people may even get $4,000 or $4,500 out of the original Spikers. It just depends again on the market and availability and what's out there. So this thing represents an outstanding value if you want this look. Now, if you want to be a collector, go buy the collector's rifle. That's for you. I would say most people just want the look. Again, it's a classic look that goes back to the Vietnam War, this underfolding spike bayonet. really sets this gun apart from all the other AKs that are out there on the US market. And it's just a look that a lot of us like, myself included. The fact that PSA can bring these guns to market at such an affordable price. I mean, Jason and I were just in awe at the price. We were thinking, you know, they're probably going to bring them to market for $1,200, $1,500 when we first saw them. It was really surprising to see the fact that they were much lower priced. So here you have them side by side. We're going to take them apart and kind of go over the nitpicky details, because a lot of you guys out there, the AK community, can be very detail oriented and they want to know every little bit and piece about what they're getting ready to buy. If you want the collectible, go buy it. This thing is so close that you're going to have a blast out shooting it, and you're not going to have to worry about breaking apart or damaging a very valuable collectible rifle. And this is going to put this type of a gun in the hands of a lot of American shooters that want this look, and I think a lot of them do, because everything I've ever read from anybody that's ever seen this particular rifle is, I want one. And you'll understand why if you don't already by the end of this video. So this is what truly makes the rifle what it is. Now, I should also point out that the gun does not come with a cleaning rod for whatever reason. This seems to be a major point of contention for people that just love to rip PSA apart. From what I understand, making those cleaning rods is expensive to do domestically, and they get them when they can, so they will have them in some rifles, and other rifles they won't. They typically list on the website whether or not they have a rod available for the gun. But come on guys, it's a $7 part. When I got this rifle in, I jumped online, ordered a $7 cleaning rod, and I'll put it in the gun when it gets here. If that's your only reason for not wanting to buy one of these, you probably got a screw loose. So anyway, the Spike, that is so cool. What a classic look. I just love shooting this rifle. Yeah, and just such a piece of amazing work. You know, what Palmetto State is doing with guns like this, bringing them to market at such affordable prices and manufacturing stuff like this is stuff that people wanted. If you're 25 years old, let's say, and you're seeing somebody like myself who bought an original gun 30 years ago going, man, I wish I could have one of those, but you know, $3,000 is a lot of money. PSA is making this for you. And that is one of the things that we found really amazing about the factory tour. And again, if you haven't seen the factory tour video, you need to go watch it so you can see how these guns are made and learn about the people that are making them. And what does PSA have in store for us? They're going to do RPKs. Well, we already know they're doing some parts kits. Are they going to do, you know, PKMs, RPDs? What's next? We already know they're doing a retro line of M16s on the H&R brand. This company is on the move, guys, and it's really, really cool to see. Okay, this is for the AK geeks out there that want to know every little detail about the PSA versus the Polytech. Now, I also want to thank our friends over at Norma Ammunition. They are offering 7.62x39 high quality brass cased ammunition. Of course, it's non-corrosive. They send this ammunition to us free of charge here at the channel, and Norma is outstanding ammunition. We want to thank them for doing that. We've also been shooting some Wolf ammunition out of it, but keep in mind, you know, our government, in its infinite wisdom, has now banned the import of steel-cased ammunition out of Russia. Therefore, it will be drying up and eventually going away. Now, good news is, and this is another video, PSA is spinning up to produce steel-cased 7.62x39 and 5.45 ammunition as well. So if that's what you really want to shoot, they will be offering it down the road. So today, Wolf and Norma is what we've been shooting. Norma, good stuff. And so let's start off at the rear and kind of talk about some of the things that we've noticed that are their differences. I don't profess to be an absolute expert on AKs. I know just enough to be different, but I have an original here to compare to the new version, and so that's just basically what we're going to do. So we're going to start off here at the butt, and we're going to move all the way up to the muzzle. So if you take a look at the butt of the two guns, we have the steel butt plates, but obviously we have a trap door here in the original with its original cleaning kit. That is absent from the PSA rifle, but it does have the metal butt plate back here, so it has the look. You'll also notice the sling swivels. All right, so we have a sling swivel here. This is an original Chinese sling. We have flathead screws holding the sling swivel into the wooden stock. We have the same type of sling swivel back here, but we do have Torx head screws holding those in place. If that really bothers you, believe it or not, there are plenty of flat head screws out there that are blued that you can replace that with if that really drives you nuts and you're really trying to make a perfect clone. We've already pointed out the fact that the grain and the finish on the stocks are slightly different, but they got the comb perfect. I mean, the angle, the cheek comb, everything seems to be good. If anything, the stocks are just a little bit more narrow, both on the buttstock and the pistol grip on the PSA, but not enough to be really, really noticeable. If you take a look at the Tang here on the Chinese rifle and compare it to the Tang on the PSA, you're going to notice, again, a difference there. Keep in mind, they make a lot of different AKs, and I would imagine they're reusing rear trunnions for that reason. Keep costs down. If they were going to make, a perfect clone, it's just going to drive the cost up, and everybody likes to complain about that. So the fact that they have used parts like that in areas that really don't matter to most folks that just want the look, makes a lot of sense. Now, the pistol grip, thicker on the original, thinner on the PSA gun. Same basic contour. It's narrower, a little thinner, but it has that checkering pattern on it, so it looks perfect. Take a look at the two rivets here on the Chinese rifle. These rivets are in different locations back here. Again, they're using existing trunnions for their rifles that they're reusing in this particular gun, so that's not surprising. Coming forward, we're going to take a look at the triggers and the contour of the triggers. They nailed it. The triggers look identical. You take a look at the magazine releases. The magazine releases are really, really close. Now, the stop on the safety lever on the Chinese rifles is different because this would be the full auto position on a military rifle. One more down would be semi-auto. They put a stop there so that the selector lever just wouldn't swing. This would probably be more reflective of what a full auto stop would look like. And you'll notice they have the indentations for semi and full, even though it's just a semi-automatic rifle. So when you go down to the different notches, it actually will go down to the full auto position. The Chinese rifle actually has, safe and fire markings, S and F for the US market. The PSA rifle has the Chinese markings instead. Now you'll notice on the receivers there's resistance weld marks that are on both sides of the receiver that hold the rails for the bolt carrier to ride on, okay? Those resistance welds are also present on the PSA gun, but as they told us at the factory, these are just for cosmetics. They have a more effective and secure way of attaching those rails, and these resistance welds are just there for looks, to make the look right. And of course, they actually did a great job there. If you come forward, you'll notice a lot of modern AKs will have two rivets holding the mag release lever section and the trigger guard. This has a one rivet on the Chinese gun, and they've also used one rivet on the PSA gun. The dust covers, slightly different, okay? Again, they're probably reusing dust covers from their other models out there. So you're going to see a slight contour difference in the dust cover. Absolutely a non-issue for me, but, to those of you that want an absolute perfect clone, go pay $3,000 and get it. This thing is really, really close. You're also going to notice that there's a slight different profile to the safety lever itself on the PSA gun. So close, from 10 feet away, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. But just wanted to point it out, ever so slightly different. The bolt on both guns is in the white, which is awesome. Coming forward, you take a look at the rivets up front. Perfect location, great rivet pressing, very similar to the rivets that are done on the Polytech. So they're proper location. Barrel pins, look really good. You're going to notice a slight difference in the contour here of the front trunnion. But again, not something that you're really going to have to concern yourself with. Your gas lever, takedown lever. On the original Chinese rifle, you will notice that it has white lettering, and then on the actual adjustment, there's knurling on both sides of the little slider, right? On the PSA, there's no knurling on the right-hand side. There is knurling on the actual button that presses in on the other side on the slider. Again, they're just reusing stuff from their existing stock. There's no real reason to knurl that. You'll notice it also does not have the white lettering, but you could white that yourself if you really, really wanted to. Moving forward, blonde furniture looks the same, but the grain obviously is different. The Spiker bayonets, if you take a look at them, everything from here forward, we struggle to find any type of real meaningful difference. Like if you take a look at the sling attachment that's around the barrel here by the 45-degree gas block, it has a cut in it where it's pressed around the barrel. This lacks that cut. Oh my gosh, how horrible that is. I'm being facetious. It's really, that is not much of an issue at all. Same 45-degree angle. If you take a look at the contour of the locking mechanisms of the folding spikers, they're identical. The ridge on the back of the muzzle device is present on both guns. We have those hoods on the front sights, which are identical, 14 by 1 left-hand threads with muzzle nuts on the end that look very similar as well. So we can take a look at the other sides again here really quick, just so you guys can see what they look like here. I'll just let Jason kind of pan it from one end to the other so you guys can get kind of a look at way things are set up. Again, you're going to see a little bit of difference back here, but everything else is going to look very similar as you get closer towards the front of the gun. The cloning is darn near 100%. So for the money, I still can't believe the price of the gun, given the effort that they've gone to make them look so similar. So now let's take them apart and take a look on the inside. I mean, they're AKMs, but let's take a look at what's going on the inside. Then we're going to talk about a couple of things that we think that PSA could do that would be really simple changes that might make, you know, the would-be collector out there like the guns just a little bit more, but really, really minor issues. All right, so let's take apart the Chicom rifle first. We've already checked to make sure that the weapons are clear. And take off the top cover, take out the recoil spring, guide rod, take out the bolt and carrier, and lay all this out. Okay. So if you take a look on the inside, you can see the braided springs, things like that. You'll also notice on that front trunnion that you have factory markings on the front trunnion. This is one of those things that we think that PSA could do. PSA puts markings on top here that are hidden with the top cover on. We think this would be a simple thing for them to move over here that might make it look a little bit better. But keep in mind, the guns were uglied up anyway, the originals, by their import markings, right? So you had the manufacturer markings back here, and then you had the import markings up there, which just uglied up the guns, and then you know, more import markings, whatever, down there. So actually, these would be model numbers. Polytech would have put those on there. That is the import marking on the underside there of the receiver. All right, so we'll set that bolt aside, we'll set that carrier aside, and then we'll just do kind of a direct comparison. All right, take apart PSA rifle, take that top cover off. Inside we have our recoil spring, guide rods, take out the bolt and carrier. Everything is in the white. Once again, I want to stress that these are forged parts. Now, over time, these in the white parts will take on the same patina that you see here on the Chinese guns. So let's look at them side by side. Here's the top covers. We've already talked about the slight contour differences. This is the Chinese part. This is the PSA part. Give you an idea of what they look like. Recoil springs, guide rods, a little bit of differences back here. But I mean, seriously, guys, that's nothing I would be concerned with. Again, if you want to buy a collector's rifle, go buy a collector's rifle. Take a look at the bolt carriers. All right, so these things look pretty much the same, slightly different cuts to them. One really cool cut I think some of you guys are going to like. You're going to notice on the PSA We have a visible pin going through here, which here it's ground down to where it's flush. I mean, just minor stuff. We have the ring piston head down here. We have extra ring out here on the PSA gun. The one thing that we thought was really cool, this has the auto trip lever on it for full auto, whereas the import gun does not have it, and that was probably done for import reasons. ATF is trying to save us from ourselves. God forbid you have that on your bolt carrier, but PSA actually left it there, which is kind of cool. Taking a look at the bolts, once again, these are large stem bolts. Everything looks as it should. The Chinese part being in my right hand, and the new part obviously being in my left hand. So very, very good. I'm going to take the Chinese carrier, put the PSA bolt in it, and they've done a great job. Chinese bolt, PSA carrier, right? Really, really good job in what they've done there. So, I mean, it's just amazing. Now let's take a look at the inside. Different hammer, right? So we have the purplish finish that was common in the Chinese guns. We have the braided springs. You'll notice there's differences in the rear trunnion. Here's those markings I was talking about. Be kind of cool maybe if they would move them over to the other side. They have a Soviet arms logo. We'll show you the box. I think that might be kind of cool to put on that trunnion. But yeah, I mean, this thing really, really is well done, and the parts seem to fit nicely. There are some tensioning things you may want to do. Safeties are a little loose, but you can bend those to get to the tension that you want. Just little things like that. Nothing that I would say is wrong with the gun. And again, the price is just so stinking amazing. The gun is gassed about the same as the original Chinese version. Just they're a little over gassed. They got a little punch to them. If you don't like the recoil, people have asked, does anybody make a recoil pad for an AK? You can actually jump on Amazon, Vagisil. I think they're running a Christmas special. You just rub a little bit of that on your shoulder, and you don't need the recoil pad for the 7.62x39. So, yeah, I mean, guys, they really, really nailed it. And when it comes to shooting them, it's so similar that you can't really tell outside of the fact that the stocks are slightly different in terms of thickness and all that stuff. So PSA, big thumbs up, guys. You knocked it out of the park. You produced something that nobody else did. I do want to say that PSA sent me this rifle because they saw my absolute just amazement when we did our factory tour. And then by the end, they did have it sitting on the table, and they said, we know how madly in love you are with the Type 56, and we're going to send you this gun so you can do a video with it. So I just want to put that out there. I know people are going to say I'm a paid shill, whatnot. I'm showing you everything about these guns, and this didn't come with a check, but the gun does have actual value. But I just want to put that out there so you guys know. I'm still thoroughly impressed with the gun, but you be your own judge. We're showing you everything that we possibly can. This is the box that the gun ships in. Really cool logo. Love to see that on the trunnion. Soviet arms. Really, really kind of cool. Inside you find the gun. You'll get your owner's manual, Magpul magazine, which will make you puke a little bit in your mouth when you see it in the gun. And yeah, that's what you get for your money. And in my opinion, it's money well spent, but that opinion is worth exactly what you paid for it. You guys be your own judge. I try not to tell people what they should or should not buy, but what I can say is I'm extremely happy this gun's on the market, and I'm going to be shooting this one because I rarely shoot my original Chinese guns for fear of actually breaking something. Guys, if you enjoy videos like today, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. We do have a link in the video description below. You'll get early access to videos like this one, direct access to me. I answer all private communications. We make special content just for our Patreons and things like that. We also ask you guys to include ideas that we can make future videos out of. So please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. Also, right here on YouTube, you got that little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. And click that join button to support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 14 years of support, and we will talk to you guys soon.